I'm joined online with a colleague, Mark Gould, who will talk about what our ask is. I'm going to give you a little bit of flavour of the business, why we're here today, really, the challenges we've got, and really reaching out to the community to see art of possible and can we address some of our challenges. A lot of the stuff you'll hear from me will echo what Nick just said, but in actual fact, ours is at a marine environment level. So, yeah, recognise the mugshot. That's me, Nigel Quinn. I head up a company called Bibby Marine. It's actually the UK's oldest privately owned marine business. It's over 200 years old. My fun fact is that when we sailed our first ship, which was wind powered, it was the same year that Napoleon was invading Portugal. So we've been around in the marine industry for over 200 years, and we've been using in the past clean energy to operate our ships. And then we've worked through 4 different energy transitions, and we now find ourselves looking at how we decarbonise our assets today. The asset classes in which we operate are assets that live alongside wind turbines. They're called SOVs, which stands for Service Operation Vessels, but they literally live in a wind farm 365 days a year, 10 plus years, taking technicians to and from the wind farm. Our vision pretty much has been to accelerate through the energy transition, and we start building our clean ships of tomorrow today. That's been a promise that we've made to our board. It's also a promise to our environment, in all honesty. There's a strange paradox in the offshore wind industry that it makes really nice clean energy, and yet perversely the industry doesn't use it and they all operate off fossil-based fuel assets. So we've intended to move to a clean fuel solution, and in doing so it'll enable us to hit our own ESG agenda, which we go under the banner of Compass, and our own UN SBTI targets. Bit of a paraphrase route to what we've done. So over the last 3 or 4 years, we actually stopped building ships. And when I say building ships, we tend to buying a third-party ship and operate the ship, but we haven't bought any ships for a few years because we've been trying to fathom out our route to a clean ship. So 3 years ago, we actually worked in conjunction with a government body called Marry UK, and the project was all around looking at alternative fuels that suited the next generation of our service operation vessels or assets of a similar size. In doing this piece of work, it became very apparent that there's, I'm going to be polite to the industry, there's a fair bit of green wishing, and there's a fair bit of green washing, but there's a hell of a lot of green wishing. So people are talking about potential fuels that when they arrive, the ship can operate, but those potential fuels will be probably another 10, 20, or even 30 years away from hitting regular availability. To give you a sense of scale of the problem in this industry, the offshore wind market's growing, and it's growing exponentially. And alongside that, there's a lot of these ships that are due to hit the market as well. One of these ships hitting the water today will burn thousands and thousands of litres of fuel. One of the government frameworks suggests that these assets for burning MGO or similar fossil-based fuels will do £2.5 million worth of damage to the environment if they continue to operate in that with their output of carbon. So across the life of the asset, these assets will do £60 million worth of damage to the environment. You can do the calculation there, but with hundreds of these boats forecast to hit the water, if we don't address the issue, we'll do billions upon billions of pounds of damage to our shared environment. Somebody pointed out to me once, the environment doesn't get fixed because it's not owned by anybody, but if it was owned by an accountant or owned by a money man, this would be fixed. It's a hidden challenge, but we do know we're doing millions of pounds worth of damage. So we set about looking at our own clean solution, wanting to lead the way, as we'd led the way with our first build of one of these ships a few years back. Our solution was quite elegant in as much as we're saying, look, it's going to be an electric vessel. The premise of the electric vessel will be it will take its supply direct off the turbine. And in this instance, whilst the infrastructure is playing catch up, pretty much anybody's operating an electric car, they're great. But if you haven't got charging facilities, it can be troublesome. We have a backup engine that acts as a secondary support from a necessary maritime legislation standpoint, but also when there's no infrastructure available. So So our solution is effectively put a great big battery on one of these ships. That lends itself to the challenge, really. So as we've gone through this process, we're working with a naval architect, and a naval architect understands how to build a ship, but he doesn't really necessarily understand the art of the possible in putting on data centers, etc., aboard the ship. So right now we're mid or at the start of the design work with the naval architect. So it's important now that we integrate and interface things that we need from a data output into our design solutions. So I'll hand you across to Mark, who can talk a little about what we're looking for.
Thanks. Yeah, morning everyone. So yeah, Mark Gould, head of IT for Bibby Marine. So our challenge that we're putting out there really today is we've got an urgent request because we're building this vessel now, and we want to see what the art of the possible is. We want to learn from other industries because other industries have been doing this, and Nick's kind of proved that before us, ironically. And we want to leverage your skills and industry skills about what we can do, what we can achieve with this vessel and future vessels in the moving forward, so we can hit our 2030 target. I think John's going to share a form later on to form interest in this, and it'd be really useful to get people's ideas. Some of the things we're talking about and we've got ideas around is how we can leverage knowledge around wave height, wind speed to make our vessels more fuel economic as they're traveling, as we know in the using things from the vehicle, car industry, things like that we can take forward. So the options are endless for us, and we're really excited about it. And so we're keen to work and engage with people who are interested in helping us achieve this target and others further down the line. So yeah, look forward to speaking to people in the future. And if there's any questions, happy to answer them at the end with Simon and beyond. So thank you.
Simon, have we got a minute left?
You've probably got 20 seconds left.
Okay. One thing I didn't highlight on the call is we refer to this asset as our ZEVI build. ZEVI stands for Zero Emission Vessel Infrastructure. During the latter part of this year, September, October time, we were formally awarded a £20 million grant from Innovate UK in order to build this ship. Now we've got to commit another £65–70 million to this ship. So this isn't a potential project. This project's live now, and it's great that we've got the battery award underway. But now we need to take the next step in digitisation and then lead to generative AI to optimise the asset. So that's what we're looking to do.
So our first question, Nigel, is for yourself. Is the wind power generators in North Scotland and planning to create hydrogen from the excess electricity that they're generating? Have you thought about hooking up with them?
Yeah, it's a great question. Part of the study we did when I said we looked at 5 different fuels, hydrogen was one of them. For all of its sins, MGO or fossil fuel is great because of its energy density. These ships are really, they use 7,000 litres of fuel a day. So you don't get the energy density you need in actual fact from hydrogen. What I would say is when hydrogen's in a greater abundance and process later on, it may well form a combination for a future fuel cell. So good question. We have looked at it, but yeah, it's in this instance for us the transition is electrification rather than hydrogen.
Nigel, you mentioned methanol on your slide. Are you working with Maersk, who I believe are planning to use methanol as a fuel?
In short, yes, we're actually a member of the MMM, which is the Muller McKinsey Maersk Clean Shipping Forum. Maersk kind of unique because of the size and scale of the organization. But there's 2 things with methanol. One, grey methanol is no better for the environment than MGO, and e-methanol, which Maersk are actually looking at producing. They've pretty much bought up a global supply chain and got their hands on about 1 million tons per annum. They need 5 million just for the 35 ships that they've bought. So in short, yes, we know Maersk, we spoke to them, but e-methanol is going to be in the short supply. We have got an alternative solution we're working on. But yeah, we are talking. We're learning from Maersk rather than going to be getting fuel from them.
Nigel, do you see your future ship as a battery or an engine, or as a hybrid car, either as a situation dictates?
I think the answer's in the final point. There'll be different ships that'll have different solutions. Our view at the moment is where there's a sensible point-to-point location where infrastructure can be put up, electrification works very well. But clearly, we're not going to see electric field charging in the middle of the Atlantic. So you'll end up with different fuel solutions for different applications. And for us, in the first phase, it'll be hybrid, like the car industry over time. As battery becomes more the norm and scale and energy density drives up and there's more charging facility, you'll see more battery applications. But right, ferries right now from France, Calais to Dover, they're easily to be electrified. So,
Nigel, have you considered the cybersecurity aspects of the vessel?
We do already as we operate the assets, but Mark G's better placed to explain how we go about doing that. Mark, one for you.
Yeah, so the short answer is yes, we're very aware of the cyber risks of vessels. If we take a standard building and then make it a moving target that moves around, it adds a whole different aspect, and just communication to a vessel in itself is a whole different aspect and a whole different topic. But yeah, we're very aware of it. But if the person who's asked that question has ideas, then happy to speak to them and reach out to them as well, because it's a new challenging world and everything's moving, and cyber plus digital twins plus electricity makes a whole new world for us as well.